In this video, you're going to learn why I feel it's crucial that you have trusted and reliable vendors for your wedding day. Having trusted and reliable vendors on your wedding day makes a difference, primarily because it really does determine how successful and how seamless your wedding day will be. It is very easy to select vendors based off of price and things of that nature. But I have a few other things that I would like you to consider when you're thinking about hiring trusted and reliable vendors for your wedding day. Number one, peace of mind. There is nothing that will give you peace of mind more so than knowing that the people that are going to be a part of your special day are professional, that they will make sure that they do everything in their power to make sure that your day um, goes off without a hitch, especially when it comes to services that are for the day. For instance, like photography, videography, your wedding planner. Those people have a tendency to be around a lot longer than some others. For instance, like your makeup artist, they're usually there in the morning. And then after that, you are pretty much, you don't see them after that unless you have them stay on site for touch-ups and things of that nature. But at some point, they are done for the day. And so when you have a limo driver, for instance, if they're picking you up and dropping you off, or if they're just providing the pickup service, they are with you for a shorter amount of time. But it does not negate the fact that that person has to be on time, reliable, easy to contact, also is very responsive. So that way you make sure that your wedding planner is able to get the information to them that they need, as well as get the information from them that they need. Number two of why I think is important for you to have trusted and reliable vendors is they are professionals and they have expertise. There is nothing that can benefit you more than somebody that has been through the fire, per se. They can definitely give you true responses to scenarios because they pretty much have seen it all, especially if they've spent any amount of time in the industry. So it is important to rely on the expertise of the person that you're hiring to be able to make sure that your day goes off without a hitch and that the things that need to be navigated are navigated to the best of your ability. And also the pitfalls, they can suggest different things that you really weren't thinking about to make sure that everything that you are expecting to happen on your wedding day actually does happen, or the things that you don't want to happen, those things don't happen either, which is very, very important. Number three, reliable communication. We're going to stay on this one for a little bit because one of my pet peeves is reaching out to somebody via email or even text message and not getting a response. It is very important that people are responding within a reasonable time frame. If I send you an email on Monday, I'm not expecting to not get a response until the following Monday. At that point, I have gone through several different steps, found several different options, and I have moved on. So it is very important that the vendors that you're working with are good at communication. And I understand that everybody doesn't like social media. I also understand that life can get busy and it is hard to keep up with everything that possibly that's going on, not only on the business side, but also personally. I get that. But that does not excuse you for not responding. Even if their response is something like, currently I'm working on this, and that, I will have a response for you by XYZ time frame. Listen, right now I can't, respond to you via email. Give me a phone call and we can talk about it. I rather have some sort of communication than to hear crickets. Hearing crickets pretty much tells me that what I'm concerned about, what I'm taking the time to write you an email about, send you a text message about, call and leave you a voicemail about, is not important to you. And I get that my urgency may not be your urgency, but if you are part of a team and your particular turn is up to answer a question, and you're holding up things because, as a vendor, you're not responding, it is frustrating because we are all trying to move on to do the best that we can for each and every couple that we come in contact with. So it's important to make sure that the people that you are bringing on board for your wedding are people that actually communicate. Number 4 is dependable timelines. Timelines can vary. It has a lot to do with how each vendor decides to do their particular process. I know a lot of times you will find that DJs will have a timeline, and then the caterer has a timeline, and then the photographer and videographer has a timeline, and the makeup artist, they may have a timeline. There are several timelines that are out there. The master timeline typically comes from your wedding planner, which is what I do. I take everybody else's timeline and merge it into one. So that way there's not so many different documents to try to keep tabs on. The timelines are basically in place to make sure that we are using the best use of our time, that things are not running, all over the place and nobody knows what to do and when to do it. When you come down to the wedding day, it goes by so quickly. I mean, you can snap your fingers and it's literally, half the day has gone. So it's very important that everybody sticks to the timelines and having a reliable timeline where you're not just pulling numbers or start times out of a hat, that there has actually been conversation had to formulate a timeline that's going to work for all parties involved. Number 5 is problem solving. There are so many different things that happen during a wedding day. So you as a vendor in this industry know that anything, literally anything can happen. And you never want to worry or concern a couple about all the possibilities of things going wrong. But there is a possibility for things to go wrong. The best thing that you could ever do is to have people, vendors on your team, trusted vendors, of course, on your team that know how to problem solve, that do not get easily frazzled, that can come up with a solution quickly, because things can sit, fester, spin, roll, come out of control easily if there is not somebody that can take charge, make sure things are going according to plan, if something happened, to figure out a solution that will work. And the biggest thing about problem solving is not to have to involve the couple. If it is something that you can absolutely not avoid and have to involve the couple, I understand that, because as a wedding planner, I'm not walking around with my couple's credit card and just swiping to solve whatever problem comes their way. Most of the times I'm trying to use the resources that are in front of me, the people and the vendors that are in front of me, to find a solution that does not require them to step in. But if in an instance it does, I'm coming with a solution and not just a problem. Coming in like, oh, so and so can't find their shoes. Oh well. No, it's we can make a Target run, or we can, DoorDash or whatever, to get some shoes here really quickly, so we make sure that we're keeping on time with everything that's going on, and not this one thing that now becomes the focus becomes a problem. Having people on your team that are problem solvers are the best thing in the world. It will save you the stress of you having to figure out things versus people coming to you and saying, hey, this is what happened. These are the solutions that I have, 1, 2, and 3. Which one would you like to go with? That is easier to take than, here's the problem, what should we do? It's different. It's different. And how you'll be able to move about your day will be different when you have people on your team that are problem solvers. Number 6 is established, trusted and reliable vendors that have established relationships. Having established relationships in the wedding and event industry can help break down the walls of uncertainty for you as a couple, because a lot of these people you've never heard of before, you've never seen before. So you want to know that if your friend suggested a photographer that you saw at their wedding, and then that photographer suggests a caterer, for instance, there's some level of ease because you know the level that that photographer is operating on. So birds of a feather flock together. So if you like that photographer, 9 times out of 10, you will also like the caterer that they recommend. Another thing about relationships, that, when your vendors have relationships with other industry, um, other industry vendors, it can be beneficial to you because on some levels, people have a tendency to make sure that they show up as their best selves when they're, surrounded by a team of vendors that they like to work with and they know bring their A game every time. It is easy to be on a basketball team, for instance, I like sports. So to be on a basketball team, and if you are the number one player and you're the only one player, the rest of the team is going to try to meet your level of expectation. Now, if you're on a dream team, for instance, and you got three power players, that means everybody on the team is trying to be like those three different players. And the reason is because they want to be number four or number five. So your starting five, if you have a starting five and all of them are top tier, you can't go wrong. So that's the same thing with the relationships. People in the industry have a tendency, just like in life, you have a tendency to be around like-minded people. So the level of service that you provide, those people provide that same level of service. And that in turns rolls over to you as the couple. You're coming in using the relationships that your vendors have to make sure that you get the best of the best for your wedding day. And lastly, trusted and reliable vendors make your experiences memorable. I know that it is easy to document things with our phones and, people will go back and relive your wedding day, but having the professional vendors that are trusted and reliable on your team makes for your memories to be like top tier. And I'm not saying that they have to be top tier because of how much money you spent. They're top tier because of the relationships that you have with the vendors that you've brought onto your team. There's a very strong misconception that you have to pay the most money to get the best person. And that's not always necessarily true in every category. Some of the best people are on some of the smallest weddings. And that is because they choose to provide that level of service no matter what the price tag is associated with the service that they provide. So having memorable experiences, I think, starts with the consultation, which is one thing I definitely recommend that you always take the time to meet. Because I do virtual consultation. So if it's a virtual meeting or if it's an in-person meeting, have a virtual or, virtual conversation or in-person conversation with the vendors that you're bringing on your team. That includes your makeup artist, your hairstylist, your videographer, your photographer, your DJ, not just the DJ that is not just the person that you're speaking with on the phone, but the person that's actually going to be there providing the service. So that way you make sure that, you all connect, person to person, personality to personality, because that has a lot to do with it. And no, you won't know their whole life story or anything like that. But 9 times out of 10, after a 5 to 10 minute conversation, you can tell whether or not that's somebody that you're going to be able to work with for the months and almost years going forward. So if you have a long engagement, for instance, like you're planning 18 months out, that's a year and a half. If you have something a little bit longer, that's 2 years, or, a little bit shorter, that's 12 months or anything like that. These people are going to be interacting with you throughout that process. And then on the wedding day, you don't want it to be where now you're getting to learn these people on that day. You want to have some sense of familiar, be a little familiar with each other prior to the wedding day. So that way everything runs smoothly and your day is as memorable as you thought it would be. I hope that these few tips helped you understand why having trusted and reliable vendors is very important. And I definitely encourage you to take the time to get to know your vendors a little bit. And just like I said, doing a virtual conversation, consultation, or having an in-person conversation just to get to know people is very important. It'll give you an idea of the people that you're dealing with, and it'll also help you get a better picture, a better, broader picture of the vendors that you will have on your team. Just like I always say, go live your dreams, find a reason to celebrate. We'll see you in the next video.